The engine stops, the door opens, and for a brief moment, all of Monaco seems to pause. Because when these women arrive, it's not just another supercar moment, it's a quiet shift in power. This isn't about celebrities chasing attention, this isn't about influencers posing for cameras. Tonight, we're stepping into a world where single, independent women arrive in supercars not to impress, but to belong. In Monaco, wealth is everywhere. Supercars are common, luxury is normal, but there's a certain presence that doesn't blend in. It redefines the atmosphere. A calm confidence, no entourage, no explanation. Just a woman stepping out of a machine built for speed, control, and precision, much like her own life. These arrivals aren't loud, they don't need to be. Because real influence doesn't announce itself, it simply shows up. Before we go deeper, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires. It helps the channel grow, and it unlocks more stories the public rarely gets to see. Now, here's the question most people never ask. If Monaco is already full of billionaires, why do these arrivals still make everyone look twice? Because the next car you're about to see reveals something even more powerful than wealth, and almost no one talks about it. Monaco doesn't react easily anymore. When you've seen everything, yachts worth hundreds of millions, streets lined with hypercars, penthouses stacked above the sea, very little can still turn heads. And yet, there are moments when the city subtly shifts its attention. Not because of noise, not because of fame, but because someone important has just arrived. These moments usually happen quietly. A supercar slows down near the harbor or outside a discreet venue. The engine note isn't aggressive. There's no rush, no spectacle. The door opens and a single woman steps out, calm, composed, completely unbothered by the attention she's about to receive. In Monaco, that kind of entrance means something. Here, arrival is language. Every detail communicates status, the timing, the location, even how long the engine stays running before it's turned off. For these women, the supercar isn't a trophy. It's simply transportation within a world they already control. They don't arrive to be seen. They arrive because this is where their circle operates. What makes it more intriguing is that they're alone. No partner beside them, no visible security, no entourage explaining who they are. In a city where most power is displayed through associations, being single and standing alone is its own form of authority. Locals notice this instantly. Valets adjust their posture. Conversations pause mid-sentence. Not out of surprise, but recognition. Because Monaco's inner circle understands one thing very well. Independence at this level is never accidental. It's earned. These women don't follow schedules made by others. They choose when to appear, when to leave, and who deserves their time. The supercar arrival is just the visible edge of a much deeper structure, one built on influence, discretion, and leverage that never needs to be explained out loud. And while most people watching from the outside assume these moments are about luxury, those on the inside know better. This is about positioning, about presence, about reminding the room who actually belongs here. What's interesting is that the most revealing detail isn't the car. It's where she goes next, and who quietly makes space for her when she does. In most cities, being single changes how people see you. In Monaco, it changes how people calculate you. Here, relationship status isn't personal gossip, it's strategic context. Who you're connected to, who you represent, who you might answer to. And that's exactly why the presence of single women at the top tier of Monaco's social and financial ecosystem feels different. There are no assumptions attached to them, no shadows, no extensions of someone else's power. They move independently. And that independence creates a kind of quiet tension. When a single woman arrives alone in a supercar, it removes an entire layer of predictability. There's no obvious agenda tied to a partner. No expectation of deference. No inherited influence. Everything about her presence signals one thing: she is here on her own terms. This is why conversations shift when she enters a room. People don't wonder who she belongs to, they wonder what she controls. In Monaco, autonomy is rare. Most people at the top are bound by boards, families, reputations, or long-standing alliances. But single elite women operate with fewer visible constraints. They choose their circles carefully, appear selectively, and disappear without explanation. That unpredictability is not a weakness, it's leverage, and the city responds accordingly. Doors open faster. Invitations become more discreet. Attention becomes more respectful. Because everyone understands that independence at this level is expensive, financially, mentally, and socially. You don't arrive here alone by accident. You arrive here because you've already won battles no one saw. What's fascinating is how little effort they put into proving anything. There's no performance, no signaling beyond what's necessary. The car, the timing, the silence, all calibrated, all intentional. In Monaco, restraint is often louder than display. Observers from the outside may see a glamorous moment. Insiders see something else entirely. A woman with maximum optionality. She can stay, she can leave, she can listen without speaking, or change the direction of the evening with a single sentence. And because she's not anchored to anyone, her decisions carry a weight that others quietly adjust around. But here's the part most people miss. The real influence of these women doesn't begin when they arrive alone. It begins with who approaches them first and who doesn't dare to. In Monaco, the wrong supercar can say too much, and the right one can say everything, without saying a word. For these women, choosing a car isn't about trends or attention. It's about alignment. The vehicle they arrive in reflects how they see themselves within the hierarchy of the city. Some choose cars that blend quietly into Monaco's luxury background. Elegant, refined, almost understated. Others select something sharper, rarer, more deliberate. Not louder, just unmistakable. Every choice is calculated. Color matters. Finish matters. Even the sound profile matters. In a place where people recognize engines the way others recognize faces, a supercar becomes a signature. Locals don't ask who she is. They already know the type of influence that usually arrives in a car like that. What's interesting is what they don't choose. No oversized branding, no exaggerated modifications, nothing that screams for approval. Because approval is irrelevant here. These cars aren't statements made to the public. They're signals sent to a very specific audience, one that understands nuance. The arrival itself is equally intentional. The car doesn't rush, it doesn't linger unnecessarily. The engine cuts at the right moment. The door opens with no hesitation. In those few seconds, Monaco reads the message clearly. This is someone who belongs, not someone trying to prove it. For outsiders, it looks effortless. For insiders, it's obvious that nothing about it is accidental. What makes this even more powerful is consistency. These women don't rotate identities. They don't arrive one night playful and the next night performative. The car, the timing, the presence. It's all part of a long-term narrative they control. And over time, that narrative builds recognition stronger than publicity ever could. This is why certain arrivals create a ripple effect. Not excitement, adjustment. People subtly reposition themselves. Conversations recalibrate. Because the car isn't just transportation. It's an announcement that a familiar force has entered the environment. But the most revealing moment isn't the arrival itself. It's what happens seconds later when the valet pauses just a bit longer than usual and someone inside quietly changes their plans because of who just pulled up. In Monaco, power often reveals itself in the smallest moments, not during the arrival, but in the seconds immediately after. When these women step out of their supercars, there's no rush to move forward, no scanning the crowd, no need for confirmation. They pause just long enough for the environment to adjust. It's a subtle moment, almost invisible, but in Monaco, it carries weight. Because those few seconds tell everyone watching exactly where the balance has shifted. Posture becomes language here. The way she stands, the way she closes the door herself, the calm pace of her first step. Nothing dramatic, just controlled. In a city where people often overperform status, restraint stands out instantly. What follows is even more telling. People don't approach her right away. They wait. Not because they're unsure, but because timing matters. Approaching too quickly signals need. Waiting too long risks missing the moment. This unspoken calculation plays out every time, and she knows it. That awareness is part of the power. She doesn't look around for recognition. Recognition finds her. Conversations soften. Eye contact holds a fraction longer. Space opens naturally. In Monaco, this isn't courtesy, it's acknowledgement. What makes this moment unique is how little she does to create it. There's no gesture, no announcement, no visible assertion of importance. The city responds because it has learned to. Over time, certain presences train their surroundings. This is why first impressions here aren't about spectacle. They're about command without effort. Anyone can arrive loudly, very few can arrive quietly and still reshape the room. For outsiders, the scene might seem uneventful. A woman steps out of a car and walks inside. But those who understand Monaco see something else entirely. A person who doesn't need permission to exist at the center of the space. And here's where it gets interesting. The real test of influence isn't who notices her arrival, it's who immediately changes their behavior once she's inside, and who suddenly realizes they're no longer in control of the evening. What most people never see in Monaco isn't the arrival. It's the invisible rearrangement that follows. Behind every quiet entrance by these single elite women, something shifts beneath the surface. Not in an obvious way. No announcements, no public gestures, just a subtle change in direction, as if the evening itself has been recalculated. Because in Monaco, true influence doesn't sit at the loudest table, it moves between them. These women are rarely the center of attention for long. And that's intentional. They don't dominate conversations. They don't command rooms with volume. Instead, they position themselves where information flows naturally. Near decision makers, near deal makers, near people who don't speak unless it matters. This is where their real presence becomes clear. Someone leans in, someone else waits for a signal before speaking. A conversation that was heading one way quietly changes course. None of this looks dramatic from the outside, but insiders recognize it immediately. When certain people arrive, priorities shift. What's striking is how selective their interactions are. They don't greet everyone. They don't acknowledge every approach. Time is treated as a finite resource, and access is never automatic. In Monaco, this level of selectivity sends a powerful message. Availability is influence. And, because they are single, their positioning is even more intriguing. No shared agenda. No need to consult. No alignment required. Their decisions belong to them alone, which makes every interaction feel intentional and potentially consequential. This is also why their presence often creates uncertainty. People aren't sure what role they're playing tonight. Investor, observer, connector. The ambiguity keeps everyone attentive. When intentions aren't obvious, people listen more carefully. What most outsiders misunderstand is that these moments aren't about socializing. They're about awareness, about reading the room, about knowing when to engage and when to remain silent. In Monaco, silence can be more powerful than a statement, and just when it seems like nothing significant is happening, a brief exchange takes place, a quiet nod, a short walk to a different corner of the room, and suddenly, a conversation that began hours earlier takes on a completely new meaning, one that only a few people in the room fully understand. In Monaco, daylight is for appearances, but night is where reality operates. This is why so many of these women choose to arrive after sunset. Not for mystery, not for drama, but because the city functions differently when the lights soften and the crowd thins. The noise fades, the performers leave, and only the people who truly belong remain. At night, Monaco becomes smaller and more precise. These women understand that timing is a filter. By arriving late, they avoid unnecessary attention and step directly into spaces where conversations matter. No press, no spectators, just individuals who already know the value of discretion. And discretion is currency here. Under dim lights, hierarchies flatten. Titles matter less. Volume disappears. What's left is presence and clarity. This is where single elite women thrive. They don't need momentum from the crowd. They move comfortably in rooms where silence is normal and listening is respected. What makes nighttime arrivals especially powerful is the absence of performance. There's no expectation to entertain, no obligation to stay. They can appear briefly, absorb what they need, and leave without explanation. That freedom is rare in Monaco, and it's deeply noticed. People pay closer attention when someone doesn't need to stay. These late arrivals also allow something else: control over exposure. By choosing when and where to be seen, they manage perception effortlessly. Not through avoidance, but through precision. Appear too often and you become predictable. Appear selectively and every entrance carries weight. For those watching closely, night arrivals signal something specific: intent. She's not here to browse. She's not here by coincidence. If she arrives this late, it's because the meeting she cares about hasn't happened yet. And this is when conversations become sharper. Deals don't need contracts in these moments. Relationships don't need labels. A shared understanding forms quietly, without documentation. In Monaco's inner circle, this is how alignment begins. But the most telling detail is what happens near the end of the night. Because when she decides to leave, without announcing it, someone important often leaves shortly after. And the real reason why doesn't become clear until much later. In Monaco, not everything is allowed, even for the ultra-wealthy. There are rules that never appear on paper, yet everyone at the top follows them. These single elite women know those rules better than most. And more importantly, they know when not to break them. They don't arrive together. That would invite comparisons. They don't pose for group photos. That would flatten individuality. They don't publicly confirm friendships. That would create expectations. In Monaco, distance preserves power. You'll rarely see two of them enter the same venue at the same time. If they cross paths, it's brief, controlled, almost ceremonial. Because proximity can dilute influence if it isn't managed carefully. Staying separate keeps each presence distinct and therefore valuable. Another unspoken rule: never explain yourself. No clarifying statements, no online narratives, no corrections when rumors drift. Explanation suggests vulnerability, and vulnerability invites speculation. Silence, on the other hand, allows others to project, and projection keeps attention alive without effort. They also understand the importance of exit timing. Leaving too early looks reactive, leaving too late looks dependent. The right moment is when the energy has peaked but before it settles. That's when absence is felt most clearly. And perhaps the most critical rule of all: never compete openly. In Monaco, visible competition signals insecurity. These women don't outshine each other on the surface. They don't escalate displays. They don't race cars, raise voices, or compare assets. The competition happens elsewhere: in access, in influence, in whose call gets returned first. This restraint is what separates them from everyone else trying to be noticed. Outsiders may see elegance, insiders see discipline. A long-term understanding that power lasts longer when it doesn't seek validation. And yet, even within these strict boundaries, there is one rare exception. Every so often, one of these rules bends, just slightly. Not publicly, not dramatically, but enough for the city to take notice. When that happens, whispers move fast. Because if someone at this level chooses to step outside the code, it usually means something significant is about to change. And when that rule is broken, it's never accidental, and it's never without consequences. In a city filled with wealth, noise is easy to find. But silence, real silence, is rare, and in Monaco, it's often the most expensive luxury of all. These women understand that better than anyone. They don't broadcast their movements. They don't share moments in real time. There are no captions, no confirmations, no digital footprints explaining where they were or why they showed up. In a world obsessed with visibility, their restraint becomes its own form of dominance. Because when nothing is said, people pay closer attention. Monaco is a place where information travels fast, even without words. A single appearance followed by complete silence can fuel more speculation than 1,000 public posts. And speculation keeps influence alive without effort. These women let others do the talking, quietly, endlessly, and inaccurately, while they remain untouched by it. This is also why they never rush to define themselves. Titles limit, labels reduce flexibility. Instead, they allow ambiguity to work in their favor. Are they investors, power brokers, observers? The uncertainty forces people to tread carefully, and careful behavior is easier to control. What outsiders often misunderstand is that silence here isn't absence, it's positioning. By staying silent, they keep every option open. They can move between worlds without being anchored to one narrative. They can be underestimated, briefly, which is often exactly what they want. In Monaco, being underestimated is sometimes the most useful advantage of all. And when they do speak, it's rarely in public. It happens in moments that never get recorded. Short conversations, private exchanges, decisions made without witnesses. The kind of moments that don't look important until their effects ripple outward days or weeks later. This is how power sustains itself quietly. You won't see it trending. You won't hear it announced, but you'll feel it when opportunities shift, when priorities change, and when certain doors suddenly open or close without explanation. And that brings us to the final truth. The supercar arrivals may catch your eye, but the silence that follows is where the real story begins, and why the next arrival might reveal far more than anyone expects. In a city where almost everything can be bought, presence still has to be earned. Monaco isn't impressed by speed, price tags, or noise. It responds to something far rarer: control, timing, and silence. The single women you've seen arrive in supercars aren't trying to dominate attention. They don't need to. Their power lives in the way rooms adjust around them, in the conversations that change direction, and in the choices others quietly make after they appear. These arrivals are never about the car alone. They're about independence without explanation, influence without performance, and confidence that doesn't require validation. Most people will only ever notice the surface, the engine sound, the lights, the moment a door opens. But those who understand Monaco know the truth. The real story begins after the arrival, when the cameras stop and the silence takes over. That's where decisions are shaped. That's where alliances shift. And that's where quiet power reveals itself. If you've enjoyed stepping inside this unseen side of Monaco, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires. It helps us continue bringing you stories that rarely make it into the spotlight. And stay close, because the next episode dives even deeper into a world most people never realize they're watching. In Monaco, nothing is accidental, especially not who arrives and who everyone else is waiting for.